page turners, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Matthew, the man with a hat who reads. And for today's video, seeing as I'm in the midst of Sci-Fi September, I wanted to do a rant again because it's been a little while since I've done a rant. And the last rant was kind of fun. I hate dissing a book. I've said that before. But sometimes you find a book that you just need to tear a new one. And this book is one of them. This book is quite possibly one of the worst sci-fi books I've ever read, if not one of the worst overall books I've ever read. And a couple of little disclaimers on this first. First of all, it's been 8 years since I've read this book, so I don't have all the plot details perfect. I will say that. They're not entirely perfect. I had to do some research on the synopsis online and stuff to kind of get the details so I can at least give it a fair review as I rant. Secondly, if you enjoy this book, that's great. I don't want to tell you that you're wrong. I'm going to try to avoid doing that, but if I get into the midst of the rant, I might say some things like that. I'm going to try to prevent myself from saying that, but fact of the matter is I want to mainly talk why this book doesn't work for me. And that brings me to the third point. There will be spoilers. So if you are wanting to read David Weber's Out of the Dark, I'm just saying the title, I'm already flashing back to it. Anyway, if you want to read that book yet, or it's in your TBR pile at home or whatever, and you don't want it spoiled for you, I understand. Thank you for watching. But if you don't care, or you just want to see me get angry, well, let's go. So this book was published in 2010. I picked it up on one of those buy two, get third free tables they have at, like, I think it was at BAM. Yeah, it was at BAM. And I didn't get to it right away. I think it was about 2014 before I finally got around to reading it. I kept kind of shuffling it around. And I finally picked it up. And essentially the story is the galactic hegemony, essentially an alliance of all these alien races, are witnessing a battle on Earth back in the medieval times, and they are just terrified at how bloodthirsty the people of Earth are. And clearly they don't want to welcome a group of people like that into their alliance, because there's more of a pacifist alliance as a peaceful kind of thing. So they're very much worried about it. So they send another group down to kind of just keep an eye on it, keep a very close watch on it. And this other group does say, hey, let's just wipe them out. Let's solve the problem right here. We'll just wipe them out. So they start an orbital bombardment and they kill off about half of the population of the Earth within minutes. So that's a great setup. I love the setup of this group of different races. I love the fact that they're worried about Earth being a bloodthirsty group of people because, well, let's be fair, we kind of are. And I loved a lot of stuff like that. And I was like, okay, this is a really good setup. I'm really kind of enjoying this so far. Then the book becomes like a military sci-fi, but it's a lot of your skirmishes back and forth. Like we have, oh, the aliens are like, oh, we are going to do this and this and this. And it's this really long bunch of explanation, which is a lot of this book. There's a lot of explanation. It's like, just show me. Don't tell me everything. Don't sit here and give me pages and pages of exposition about your weaponry. Tell me what you want to do. Show it happening. Let's go. And this book, though, does kind of get into this pattern, a very repetitive pattern of back and forth. Like, oh, we're focusing on a group of aliens now. We're going to do this, 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 and this. And the humans will never see it coming, but then the humans pull a surprise attack and woohoo. The next chapter, it's the humans like, okay, we need to do this, 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 and this. The aliens never see it coming, and then the aliens attack. Woohoo. And it just back and forth, back and forth. It gets old pretty quick. It gets repetitive, and the goodwill you get from that really nice setup starts to kind of go down. So this book, when I first started reading, I'm like, okay, you kind of can, when you read a book, you can kind of figure out how you're going to score it as you're reading it. So I was like, okay, this is starting about 4 stars. It's dipping a little bit down to a low 3 right now, but it's still fine. It's still enjoyable. But the aliens have had enough, and they are developing a bioweapon to wipe out all life on Earth and just cut their losses. It's done, whatever. They're not going to try to take Earth for themselves. They're going to just destroy it. Okay. This is where it gets bad. This is where it gets bad. This is where it gets bad. Okay, so this is where it gets bad. We get to the last 50 or so pages of this, and all of a sudden, the aliens are being slaughtered. And I mean just slaughtered. There's no real explanation for it. What is going on? Why are these aliens all of a sudden being just ripped apart and destroyed so easily? And then the big reveal happens. You ready for this? Because I wasn't ready for this. I don't think anybody was ready for this. Vampires. And not just any vampires. Dracula himself is leading an army of vampires and is wiping out the aliens. Okay, now that you've gotten your jaws back up from off the floor, there is like no inkling that this is coming. None. Until you get to about the last 50 pages. It is the biggest, stupidest twist I've ever seen in a book. And it automatically plummeted this thing down to the lowest score I could give it on Goodreads, which at the time, of course, it still is a 1 star. Even though, in my opinion, it's lower than that. And I know, reading different reviews, I was not alone in thinking that. It is the biggest cop-out I've ever seen. The only thing I can figure out is that Weber is writing along with this, and he kind of wrote himself into this corner like, crap, how do I get out of this? Well, it's popular right now. Oh, Twilight's really popular right now. I'll just stick a vampire in there. Let's stick a couple vampires in there. Let's stick an army of vampires in there. Why? Why? It makes no sense. Oh, it is actually the only time I've ever kind of done the whole scene from Silver Linings Playbook. You know, where Bradley Cooper's character is reading the book in the middle of the night and he finishes and then he throws it out the window. I didn't throw the book out the window, but I did throw it across the room. It was just the stupidest ending. It comes out of nowhere and it comes out of the dark. It left such a horrible taste in my mouth finishing it. I felt like I was cheated out of this book at the end. And clearly, he's the author. He can do what he wants with it. It's his story, whatever. But it's just so out of nowhere. And if there'd been just a little bit of a tease to that ending somewhere earlier in the book, I'd be like, okay. I mean, you get the idea that this guy who's Dracula, there's something fishy about him, but you can't really figure out what it is. It's just kind of, there's something off about him, but whatever. You're thinking he's an alien or another alien group of that's protecting the Earth. Nope, it's a vampire. And like a couple years ago, I think they wrote a sequel. There's a sequel out there now, but I'm not going to read it. I don't care. I don't want to read it or anything else by the author. And like I said, if you enjoy his stuff and you enjoyed this book, good for you. It didn't work for me. I just thought the ending came out of nowhere and it really ruined the experience for me. So that's my thoughts. That's my little bitty rant. I know I've talked about it somewhere in a video about about the worst sci-fi book I ever read. I think it was read by Fred. Said, yeah, go ahead and do it. So hopefully if you watched this, you enjoyed it, Fred. And anybody else watching it, what are your thoughts? Have you read Out of the Dark? Have you heard of Out of the Dark? Let me know in the comments down below if you think I'm making this up. I'm not, I swear to you. And if you don't believe me, go to the Goodreads page for this book. You can read a ton of different reviews that are saying the same exact thing. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep turning pages.